When it comes to making dinner, we all need new ideas and inspiration from time to time. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 dinners that I've been loving lately. So several of you have told me that you really enjoy seeing what I'm eating because it does give you new ideas for things that you can make in your kitchen. And you know, every so often we all get stuck in food ruts where we're making the same thing, and sometimes those ruts are nice because it allows us to focus on other things and not maybe on the meal planning stuff as much. But if you are tired of your rut and you want to move on and you want something else to try, then you need ideas. So that's where this video comes in. And the food I'm going to be talking about today, I guess you could say, is my food rut right now, because these are the meals that I've been making over and over and over again here lately. They're tasty and I like them, and they've just been working for me. Also, a quick side note before we get started, if you do enjoy seeing my meals for ideas and inspiration, then make sure that you are following me on Instagram, because that is a place where I share more of what I'm eating day to day. Now, getting into the food, the first meal I want to talk about is rice bowls, and I love rice bowls. I think they are great for several different reasons, and actually I did a live stream where it was a cook with me a little over a month ago, and I made rice bowls live on the video. So I will link that for you if you missed it, because it's really fun. You get to see how this all really comes together, and also there's some Q&A involved while I'm doing the cooking, so that's a fun video to watch. But with rice bowls, I start with a base of brown rice, then I incorporate some sort of sausage, ground beef, something like that, and then it's just whatever veggies I have around. You know, this time of year there's a ton of stuff coming out of the garden, there's a ton of stuff coming in at the farmer's market, and so much variety, so it's really nice. You can just kind of use whatever you have, whatever you like, and mix it all together. So I usually have some summer squash. I did some roasted green beans here recently because I have a ton of green beans I'm trying to use. I also usually put in like some cucumbers, some chopped tomatoes, sweet peppers, hot peppers. You could incorporate feta cheese or goat cheese if you want to do that. Fresh herbs, cilantro and basil are great things to add in. You could also do mint. I usually add on some sriracha on top, but the point is, it doesn't really matter. You can just use whatever you have on hand and whatever you like and really make it your own. And it's also nice because each person in your family also gets to customize, because they get to decide which items they want to include in their bowl and how much of each item, which type of flavorings they want to use. So it's really nice because everyone really gets to tailor it to their preferences and what they want for that meal. Another meal that has been on heavy rotation for me here lately is Drunken Noodles. And this is a summer staple for me because it uses a ton of Thai basil, and personally I love Thai basil. I grow a lot of it in the garden, and it's kind of this cyclical relationship where I grow Thai basil so I can use it in Drunken Noodles, but then I make Drunken Noodles so I can use up the Thai basil, and it just keeps going around and around. But it's a great meal because it uses a lot of the seasonal stuff that I have right now, so lots of tomatoes, hot peppers, that sort of thing. It's also great because it is a quick meal to make. I usually plan the Drunken Noodles for a night when I don't have as much time. Maybe I have an evening client, or maybe I want to go take a yoga class or something like that, so I have a little bit less time there to make dinner, so that's when the Drunken Noodles comes in, and I put it on the meal plan every single week because it's one of my favorites, and it's also one of Jason's favorites. Now, I mentioned the Drunken Noodles before, and several of you have asked for the recipe. The recipe I use is from the High Heel Gourmet, so it is not my own. I give all the credit to the person who put it out there for me to use, and that recipe is for 2 people. I just double it to make it for 4 people, so we have plenty of leftovers for lunch the next day and that sort of thing. And also with that recipe, there is an option to include meat. Personally, I always make mine vegetarian. It's just easier that way to make it as a meatless meal, and I think it tastes as good without it. I don't think I've ever made it with meat. Maybe there's a couple times where I've made it with shrimp. It's really up to you and what you want to do. If you want to include meat, that's totally fine, but I just want to let you know that if you don't include meat, it's still going to be delicious and the recipe will still come together fine. Next on our list is tacos, and this is actually a meal that was in my last 5 favorite dinners video. If you missed that, I'll link it for you. It was a few months ago, so even if you did see it, you might not even remember what was in there, so always good to go back and maybe get even some more ideas. But this is a recipe that I'm including again because it's the same, but it's different. That's what I love about tacos, is it's just kind of like this basic and then it can shift and adjust and change based on the season and what's available and what looks good, what I want, that sort of thing. So right now the way I'm making my tacos is with the homemade corn tortillas, pinto beans, tomatillo salsa, because this time of year lots of tomatillos coming out of the garden, which means I'm making lots of salsa, fresh tomatoes. And if you want to see how I make my tacos, actually I did a whole live stream of that one as well, so I will link that for you too if you missed that one. And there you can see how I actually make the tortillas and what that whole process is like, and then also how I make my guacamole. But again, it's just all of these different flavors, a lot of summer foods because it is summertime. And like I said, as we go into winter, the tacos will shift and change, and they do kind of adjust based on what's available, but it's something I always have around because I never get tired of it, because even though it's the same thing, it's also different. The next meal I wanted to share with you is what I'm calling a ground beef skillet. I don't know if that's the most inspired name, but it makes sense to me. So what this is again another meal where it's just kind of taking whatever I have and mixing it all together, which makes it great for this time of year. So the way this works is I start off with a big cast iron skillet. It always starts off, you know, with onions and garlic and the ground beef, and then it's just whatever veggies I have around. Usually summer squash, tomatoes, sweet peppers, hot peppers. Again, you get the idea, just all of these summer items that I have a ton of and I need to use up, and that are also personally some of my favorite foods. So I cook all those down, mix them all together, and it changes a little bit based on what I have. Usually I put in some fresh herbs too, because there is a ton of basil in the garden. A lot of times I get cilantro at the farmer's market. This is another one where some fresh mint could be really good, basically just whatever you have, and cooking it all down and mixing it together. And then I like to serve that with roasted potatoes usually as the starchy item. And then I also like to include some sauerkraut or fermented pickles or something like that, because I really like the pairing of these kind of more hearty foods, you know, the ground beef and all these vegetables and the potatoes, with something that's a little bit acidic. I really like that sour flavor, and I think having those together is a really nice combination. So again, another meal where there's no real recipe, there's no real wrong way to do it. It's just about taking whatever you like and whatever you have available and mixing it all together and making it work. The next meal I want to share with you is another one that's great for when you don't have a lot of time or you just want something that's quick and a little bit more simple, and that is BLTs. So you're probably familiar with BLTs, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. Well, I make BBTs, bacon, basil, and tomato. And there's a few reasons for this. One, it's not that I don't like lettuce, but this time of year I have lots of tomatoes to use up, but the lettuce in the garden is long gone. There really isn't any lettuce at the farmer's market, and there's a lot of other stuff that I would rather eat. So instead of, you know, trying to search out for some lettuce, what I do instead is use basil, because basil and tomato go great together, and I have lots of basil in the garden that I gotta find a way to use it somehow. So I start off with, you know, any kind of bread. I usually use Ezekiel bread because that's just what I tend to have, but if I pick up a nice loaf at the grocery store that just looks good, then that works. If I happen to make a loaf, which is a rarity, but it sometimes happens, then I'll use that. It really doesn't matter, just whatever bread you like. And then you know what goes in a BLT. It's some mayonnaise, it's the bacon, it's the tomato, and then for me, it's the basil. And this, again, is just something that comes together quickly. And then for the side, I usually do some sort of other quick side. I mean, I could do something cooked, but if we're going with the idea that this is a night when I don't have a lot of time, it's usually some sort of like raw vegetable combination. So maybe just some sort of cucumber salad, maybe cucumber with more tomatoes. Those are kind of the go-tos, and you know, it could change depending on what else I have around or what else I want to use up, but cucumber and tomato is kind of the standard for me. So I hope you found that little peek into what I'm eating helpful, and let me know in the comments, what kind of stuff have you been making lately? Are there any meals that you've just been loving and kind of having in heavy rotation because they're just so good? Because I know I always like to hear about that. I'm sure other people would too. And if you happen to be new here and you want more healthy eating tips and nutrition info and videos like this one, then make sure that you subscribe, because eating healthy and living a healthy lifestyle really doesn't have to be complicated, and I want to show you how to do it. And if you want to watch some more videos, I have a couple linked over here that you might like. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.